Hello and good afternoon, everybody. It's lovely to see so many people here at the inaugural Scottish Production Managers Forum get-together. So I'm going to do a little bit of introduction and a couple of words of what this is about, and then it's really going to be a bit of a discussion. First of all, this is on behalf of the Production Managers Forum, which is, for those who know it, primarily a London-based thing, but the idea is that it shouldn't just be a London-based thing. So this is a first attempt to try and introduce the PMF to Scotland and see if there's any appetite to have a PMF base forum, a get-together north of the border. We are recording this today on behalf of the PMF, so that the PMF can stick it up online, and we can encourage people who haven't been able to make it across here today or who are potentially interested, so they can have a look at it basically. So hence the reason there's some microphones here, and if we get chatting, maybe we all get together, or if there's questions asked, I'll probably repeat it purely for Kelman's sake, so we've got something on record. So starting with myself, introduce myself, I'm Ruari Cormack. I'm currently the Business Development Manager at SLX, which is a hire and supply company, mainly lighting, staging, rigging, bit of AV, bit of sound. Previously I was the Production Manager at the Assembly Rooms here in Edinburgh, and before that I was Technical Director of Assembly Festival and Riverside Studios, and that takes you back 10 years, and that's probably far back enough. My background is in theatre of over 30 years, theatre, live events, festivals, music, what have you. So wide range of experience, and really because I'm now relocated back here in Scotland and I'm Scottish, have been interested in supporting the PMF and their aims to basically spread the word and support production managers like yourselves. This is Chris.
Buffham.
Buffham. You know, don't you hate that mind blank moment, right? That's why I had a mind blank moment. This is Chris Buffham. Chris Buffham is the current Technical Manager of Assembly Festival. Chris previously has done many jobs, I first met him when he was working in rigging. He has been a long-standing member of a venue, part of the ATG group. Last year was Production Manager of Assembly Rooms for Assembly Festival, correct me if I've got it wrong. Yeah. But Chris has now stepped into the big job, and doing all right so far.
No one's told me to stop.
So far, so good. And at the end here we have Fraser. Fee has been a freelance production manager in Scotland for many years, believe it or not. She looks so young. But lots of venues and great organisations such as Vanishing Point, Gridiron, the Traverse, NTS. You've currently got Thick Skin in the Traverse this year. I've known Fee for quite a few years and have tried unsuccessfully several times to get her to work for me. But it's a great source of contact with production managers in Scotland. And just before we get going on the basis of the discussion and why we're all here today, I'm going to introduce Joe, who's at the bar over there. Joe Bonnell-Thompson from FLINTS, Theatrical Chandlers.
They sell everything.
Beg your pardon. They could probably get you a chandelier. FLINTS have been approached by PMF, and similarly to SLX are going to be supporting PMF in terms of contacts. You now have a resource in terms of Joe as an account manager for anyone who wants someone to talk to at FLINTS directly, and you, as part of the PMF network, you have the lovely Joe. Yeah. Do you want to say any words at the moment?
The morning's packing up sea freight, sorry.
Are you up here for the full festival?
No, we're leaving. We leave Monday today.
Okay.
So we supported all the venues build, and we supported all the productions, opening the texts, and making sure that everybody has what they need. We act as an outpost and get stuff ordered, and then we just hold on to it until somebody can send some wild, frantic person down to pick it up. But in the process of that, we really like to also involve ourselves with the companies that are buying stuff from us. And so about 2 years ago, my role was created in order to become a face, become a person, become an actual live account manager for primarily our really big customers who struggle kind of managing a lot of things and need specials ordered in, and et cetera, et cetera. But we'd like to expand it to basically anybody who needs help. So if you're in a tight place, you need something really quickly, obviously customer services are great, but if you need something really special, or you want to buy bulk, or all of these things, that's kind of where I step in. I do the kind of above and beyond customer care. So we want all of you all to know that we're available to help.
Flint set up a shop here during the start of the festival, so that the container's only there now till today, effectively.
Yes, basically it's closed now.
Right.
The banners are coming down in 30 minutes, so.
Cool. So, but Flint's working with Assembly Festival have a location here during the build, the important bit when you need an extra piece of equipment that you don't have, for the start up to the opening weekend of the festival. So.
Yep, and then I'll go back and I'll still be in contact with everyone. So from London, I'll be in contact with everybody up here, making sure that if there's anything else anybody needs.
Is there going to be, are you going to work with PMF to have a link on their website to you? I mean, the PMF do have very many handy links on their website.
I would assume that's part of the sort of agreement to come in and support, but also that not only do you get access to me, but you get access to the website, and if there's anything about, we really want a lot of feedback as well. I think that's one of the big things that we're really keen to get involved with these groups about, is that you can then feedback to us. So that we know what we can do better, what we can serve better, what we stock that doesn't help, that stock that does help, that kind of stuff. So really, I think the whole idea to get involved is get the feedback from everyone, and open up communication between people who aren't necessarily doing the ordering, which is basically the people I deal with, but people who use the stock.
She's very much in the same role as SLX, associating themselves with various organisations like the PMF. I mean, ultimately, production managers do the ordering, sign off the POs, have an oversight of budgets and all that kind of thing. So for suppliers such as SLX and FLINTS, it's really key for you guys to have a good contact there you can talk to someone directly and have a good relationship with, and for us to get the feedback that we need to make our businesses better.
Yeah. Absolutely. So vital, and I think for many years FLINTS kind of like operated in the background, and we're very much now trying to get out into the foreground and talk to people and be involved in no faces, no places, no name, these kinds of things, because I think people think that we're afraid of the feedback, but actually it's absolutely vital for business. Good, bad, ugly. If you're like, oh, that really is amazing, great, then we know not to chuck it. But if you're like, that's part of the business is really terrible, well, okay, well, let's put it to the forefront of fixing it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Are you hanging about for a bit, or are you?
No, I'm going to go take banners down. So I'm about to go climb on top of the sea freight really safely.
Okay, well, if you want to watch that later, the secret's just around the corner when you go out there.
I've left a few notebooks for all of you as well, and I've put my cards there so that you guys have my direct email and phone number. So please feel free to get in touch about anything. Don't be shy. I'm not. So.
You're going to come and join us at 5 o'clock?
Possible.
In the tree house?
Possible. Let's see how long it takes me to get banners rolled out.
Just do it quickly then.
In the middle of the street. It'll be fun. But thanks, guys.
Thanks, Jane.
Thanks, Joe.
So, here we are. It's supposed to be 3 to 5 today. There is going to be a kind of a social drinks afterwards in the treehouse, which is across in Assembly Gardens afterwards. We might get there quicker, who knows?
I think that might be a possibility.
I think it might be a possibility. So, who's heard of the PMF? Okay, cool.
We've all
Everyone's
heard of it.
Hey, excellent. It's probably why you know we were here today.
That's why you're in the building.
So this is a great start. No, Phil, I know it's Phil O'Halloran from NL Productions. You're based up here, right? But Callum, you're not, right?
No, so I'm based out in Birmingham predominantly, most of the year round, and then travel up for, especially for the festival. So I'm director of production at Greenside. So yeah, just trying to kind of, I'm very aware that we all kind of are up here working at captioned, and not a massive network between. For the main reason we're all kind of here at this point of the year, actually, you know, a few people, but not many people between all of us here. We're all kind of trying to do this a similar type of thing. I think.
As I say, we all are up here doing the same thing. And was it Tim?
Yes, I'm a freelance production manager.
Are you up here with a show or with a?
Yeah, I'm the show that I'm helping for. I also work at Greenside, managing the box office.
Okay. Multitasking.
So Callum, are you freelance or are you
Yes,
with you?
I'm freelance the rest of the year, so I do a lot of work in Birmingham, Gloucester, and Edinburgh, kind of free neck of the woods.
And Sophia, yes.
So I'm acting duty manager on suite venues during Fringe season. Outside Fringe season, at the moment, I will be acting on suite productions with JD Henshaw as production manager. So it's a newer role to me, so any advice I can get to kind of make sure I'm quantifying my role and making sure I'm doing something is
Fantastic. And you're not based up here either?
I'm not, no, but I march around the office, we don't really have a fixed address, we kind of go where we're told.
Nomadic production management.
Very much so, which I'm actually really enjoying. I graduated a few years ago and time out from theatre. This year I've come back into the fourth night because the first semester is made.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And was it Alex? Alex from Hawthorne is also in the room. Sits exactly the same position as himself, supplier, right? In fact, we're competitors.
He's going to fight.
But
just up here as one of the techies supporting any different than anything else, bringing up from our warehouse. So then just the technical support rather than
yeah, but being associated with forums and collectives such as this is valuable for us, right, as suppliers. And I have to say, it's quite odd for me having worn this hat and now I'm wearing this hat. It's been an interesting cross of the divide, which is kind of why I'm here today as someone who can see it from both sides. Anyway, on the PMF, what should we start with?
What's first on your list?
So
Social.
first of all, and it's kind of odd now putting this in the room because only Phil lives here, right? But initially was there a desire to set up PMF? So really I should open that up to you guys because you both now live here.
Yeah.
So it was Chris's just pressed PMF in the beginning to say, what about Scotland? Should we set something up here? Should there be a hub up here?
Yeah.
Clearly the festival comes here, there's a lot of people come here. What do you reckon?
Well, I had a lot of sort of production managers and technicians coming to me sort of talking about the PMF and the fact that they felt it was very much London-centric and what can we do here. So I knew all the guys that have set up the PMF and just started talking to them and kind of said, well, how do we do a Scottish branch of it? How do we make it so that all the resource that's happening there in London can be in Scotland? And how do we open it out to everybody and make sure that everybody knows who everybody is and we can use it as a resource for everybody else? Because the whole point behind the PMF is to be a resource for production managers. So what they do is they have hubs all over the country. So you look on their website, you look for a hub. If you're in Birmingham or something like that, you will find somebody there that might be able to guide you in a direction to go and find a piece of kit or a supplier that's local and that sort of thing. So I felt that it was needed in Scotland to do that, whether it be in Edinburgh, Glasgow, Perth, you name it. We had that option to do it and find the right people in the right places to come on board with it. It was an idea that we started running with a little bit and they then just went, great idea, try and do what you can to make it happen. As you can imagine with everything that's happening with this tiny festival that we run here, it's taken a while to get things rolling and everything else, but we were hoping to try and get a few of the local production managers involved to then jump on board and create a big Scottish hub.
So Chris has only just moved up here, having lived down south a long time, so actually having a resource like that for you, relocating would have been really handy.
Absolutely.
For you, you've lived here all your life.
Yeah.
So, and you're very well established in the whole network of
Yeah.
Scotland. So actually, there's maybe less of a requirement for
Yeah,
that,
but I think that-
but you can look
yeah.
down the other way, right?
Yeah, well, I think as a freelancer though, sometimes you are a bit kind of like, you know who your contacts are, and sometimes just meeting some new people, or one of the big things is going into venues. So if you're taking a venue, a show into a venue, it's quite nice sometimes, I think, to be able to go, well, that, the production manager there is so-and-so, let's have a chat with them before we go in, let's find out exactly what they're expecting, what we're expecting, etc. Whereas that conversation, I find, only comes when I know that person already. So I'll know the Travers production manager, for instance, so I'll phone him up, or I'll know, but if I'm taking something into the Kings, maybe, in Glasgow, I literally just take it into the building. I don't have any sort of conversation or relationship with them previous to that. And I just think sometimes it might be quite nice to know what they're expecting of a company taking a show in, and vice versa.
And certainly with an awful lot of websites, venue websites, you don't necessarily have that list of people who work there,
Well, it's that sort
with
of
their
weird
contacts and
cold calling
information.
thing as well, and it's sort of like if you know somebody's face, you're more likely to be quite happy to get an email from them. Whereas just this kind of cold calling email can sometimes be a bit tricky.
If you can even find their email.
Well, absolutely. Or if they answer it, because everyone's very busy.
Well,
Very busy.
Very, very busy.
Very busy.
how about you guys? Is that something that ring bells?
I think so. I did live in Edinburgh for 2 years, I left the observer for like that, and it's like you said, actually a lot of if you know someone, you very much, that's who you go and speak to. If you know your supplier, that's who you go and speak to. So actually, and then I certainly know from the higher network in Edinburgh, all the higher companies from each other, they all borrow kit from each other, and vice versa. I remember doing a show and hired some to go into one place, and they supplied some bits, and I'd already got some of the kit from them, so I had Blacklight and Live System both there, and Blacklight supplied the bits that I'd got them from Live System, so I was like, it's good stuff like that. And whereas actually if you can have those conversations of where it is, still, it should be like that, and just such a, but there's so many people within the area that are involved in it, there seems to be any kind of, who you know, like you said. I think a lot of the time it's just an email address to find for a venue, just technical. So everyone's just going to send a very generic billing on it. Because I can't be the person about it, and actually, I could probably sort this in 5 minutes face to face.
Yeah, I think also certainly currently in Scotland, with both the cuts from Creative Scotland going into venues first and foremost, but then going into companies, which obviously then filters right through down to the freelance and general staff. More shared resources is definitely the way forward, I think. Sharing in that way that if you've got, I don't know why I'm going to use stage weights, but I'm going to use stage weights. If you've got 25 stage weights sitting there doing nothing, then why should somebody be hiring them or buying them from someone else? Do you know what I mean? So stage weights is a really rubbish thing to use, I know. But there feels like there should, in the current climate of cuts left, right and centre, and staff as well, there's so few staff in Scotland just now. It sort of feels like there needs to be a way, or it would be good to have some sort of shared resources. And I feel that if there was a forum, then there can almost be a website, or there can almost be some sort of something. Rather than everyone just saying, we've got no money. Okay, so what we're going to do then?
So certainly on that, the networking aspect is really important, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Getting to know people. I mean, when I was TD of Assembly, John Robb and I got together and said we should have a get-together at the start of the festival when all the TDs and their heads of departments and all the initial team come up into Edinburgh. That's the kind of time where we possibly do have an evening where we can all get it together, and that is still going on today. I mean, we started that in 2008, so it's 11 summers we've had this. I
think it's getting messier and messier, though.
It's getting a bit bigger and a bit messier. Maybe needs to be looked at again. However, it's one of the reasons it's getting messier, I would put out there, is that and you might have been there in the first one, Phil, in the first one at the Trav, we all stuck in our own little cliques, and very few people talked to or knew. We didn't know each other. I mean, you know, John was doing his best introducing people to everyone. I didn't know who everyone was. And whilst it was a messy night, I kind of came away going, still really only talk to the people I knew. Oh, that was year one. Year two, we did it again. More people had crossed over. Maybe some people had moved from Gilded to Underbelly, or maybe the Underbelly guys that turned up weren't there in the first year. However, we started having a bit more recognition and talking. And certainly I remember that year, Gilded had a sound desk nicked. And suddenly there was an email that went around to all of us saying, look out for the Cotton on CCTV, look out for this guy, you know, blah, blah, which was a brilliant example of how that get-together had shared information and shared contacts, so we were able to share information like that. Plus, I do remember there was a lot more of, I need some red drape, have you got any of that? I need a spare bit of deck, have you got a bit of that? So instead of you putting it right back to the hire company, which, you know, as hire companies, we love to hire you another bit of kit, but actually it can be a real pain getting it from down south up to here in time, all that kind of things. And it's even created, and certainly it's an attitude I have, that I, as SLX, should be able to come to Hawthorns and go, I need a bit of that. Have you got a bit of that? I've done it with live systems, done it with various people in town. And for production managers, it's brilliant to be able to have other production managers you can ask, have they got something that's going to help you out? Another thing I was thinking about on that terms of getting to know more people is the kind of internal mentoring you can do. Because I certainly used that down south. There's times as a production manager it can be quite a lonely life, right? You suddenly get elevated because you're the guy who seems to know what's going on, and suddenly people think, well, you can be in charge, and you find yourself going from chief LX or wardrobe or whatever it is, stage manager to, you know, technical manager to suddenly your production manager, then your technical director, and you get all these grand titles, and you find yourself working in a more isolated way, especially when you're doing the planning and the build-up. And I don't know about you, but I questioned myself. I was just like, am I any good at this? I have no idea, right? But I would phone people like, I don't know if you know people like Simon Byford or Neil Cooper, bless him, and people like that, to go, I feel like this. I don't know all this, you know what? And to have more experienced or people in a similar position to go, you know, I felt exactly the same. To have people like Byford and Cooper say, I felt exactly, been there, seen that, and you know why we do it for because we love to do it. Having those conversations, this is an opportunity to have those conversations with the same network of people.
Certainly talking as a freelancer, it's that classic thing of you don't actually know if you've done anything right until the next time that company phone you up and say, come and work with me. Do you mean there is never that sort of, I understand if you work full time for a company you get some sort of 6 monthly, you know, how do you think you're doing? Performance review, that's it. You know, your performance review as a freelancer literally is, do they employ you again? Yeah. And actually, I believe it or not, been doing it for 25 years now, and I know. And yeah, still you go, when's somebody going to find me out? When is that time going to come that I don't get the phone call anymore?
I'm very much of the ethos of just keep doing it until someone tells you to stop. And that's kind of, with me, this being my first year with Assembly as technical manager, that's definitely my ethos this year. No one's telling me to stop, so I'm obviously doing my job right. There's no one steering me in any direction.
Or everyone's too scared to tell you to stop.
I don't know. I'm not that scary of a character, so it should be fine. But no, there's so many people out there that just take it for granted that you know what you're doing, and you're fine getting on with your own little world, whilst all of your HODs and things like that are getting on with it, and they're like, you're fine. The amount of times that in a production manager's sort of position, nobody ever asks you if you're all right. It's very much a case of, you must be fine because everything's happening. So below your legs are going crazy, you're being nice and serene above. But there's times where you just need somebody to go, you all right? How's it going? Yeah, don't worry, you're fine. Nothing's blown up, we're all good. And you just need that every so often.
I think it's as well touching on the idea of having the sort of community, kind of building a community. So there's an element of trust there. So the whole idea of having that core selection, like for example, even with the people in this room, that we all get to know each other, we all can rely on each other for kit or for advice or for mentorship. there is that element of trust there that you know that at the end of the phone, you either say, give me 5 minutes, I'll come back to you, or hey, what's going on? And I think for somebody who's a little bit new, and there's that element of sort of almost relief there, that you know that if you need X, Y, and Z, you know that you've got someone either in the next venue, particularly in Edinburgh, where there's so many venues to look at, that you know you've got someone to kind of ask, and vice versa. You know, there's that, and there's sort of circle of trust. It's a really big analogy, but that's quite. I think that's really important, particularly when it's a festival like this. It's so large, it's so busy, it's so fast-paced. For us PMs, that sometimes you just need to go. Oh, I do need to just ask for that thing.
It does also feel crazy though that every year the city is taken over by the festival, and that network for people who maybe just come up here, for the month, and as you say, maybe don't know people, only know the people they're working with, and don't know who to contact out of that circle. It feels that there should be some sort of, some sort of support there, certainly.
Yes, we all know somebody, but because we're here.
Yeah.
So it's like getting on the phone to John Robert, EIF, have you got this in your stores?
Yeah.
Or he'll do the same to us. Or we'll just dart in between different suppliers and different festival operators. But for you guys coming here, it's like, oh, who does operate EIF? Who can I go to that might have a bit of kit for this?
Yeah.
And then it gives you that resource.
So there's a couple of different things here. There's the fringe-centric side of things where you get an awful lot of incoming, people from down south, other parts of the world, bringing in shows that the PMF forum, no matter where it's based, could give you a more of a Edinburgh-centric, fringe-centric access point to information and people. However, that nucleus of people who are Scotland-based, right, because this is one of the reasons, well, the main reason we put this together in the first place, is to create that nucleus of Scottish-based production managers who are willing to put in a little bit of work. And I'm going to almost direct this to camera for those people who didn't make it today and can come along and be part of this. Is to take that on, right? And Faye and Chris and I were talking earlier as to whether that's a freelancer, a fringe-centric person, a venue production manager, right, from one of the many rep houses in Scotland, who can create a Scottish base. And it shouldn't be too much work, because we're all far too busy, right?
Yeah.
However, we should be able to, even if it's just use the portal to put on information and update any information they have, or even just put their contact details on the forum, so that other production managers can access the forum and see who's where. They're great at putting up jobs. They themselves, I would say PMF need a bit more support in general in terms of financial and structural support. There is some there, but these organisations all need a little bit more help. But certainly within Scotland, it would be good for people to contact Chris and Fee to say, yeah, interested, let's do something. And it can be as simple as putting your name on the website and creating a little contact page, and then doing a couple of socials a year. And we talked about that, didn't we? Whether you do, instead of trying to do a forum like this in the festival, which everyone's busy, not everyone can make it along. This one did need a little bit more advertising, let's say, but this is the first one, so this is a chance to take that, learn from it and do it for the next one. Or if it's just a social, like the crew drinks, the PMF social, where the production managers shows are up and running, let's all get together, have a beer, have a gin and tonic, and bitch about the producer, compliment the producer, say what went well, say what didn't well, share those stories that production managers have, because you're in key roles of actually knowing so much about the project, the event, the show that's just happened. It's a great resource to be able to share from people. There was also the talk about using those socials to not only be the inward-looking clique of production managers, but to open up and invite producers, accountants, the budget people, the people who put a lot of stress on you to achieve what they want you to achieve with sometimes realistic, more often unrealistic budgets, and discuss the challenges on both sides. As production managers, you need to understand the challenge that producers are under, And producers need to know the challenges they're then putting their production managers under to achieve said dream, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to get some feedback, clearly from you guys and from anyone watching, as to who's interested in what they can do to help this, and who's willing to put their hands up in the first place to pick it up and take it forward for up here, up north.
If you take it away from Scotland, with you guys, do you go to the socials and stuff with the London one or anything like that? Do you use the PMF as a resource?
It's something that certainly from my point of view, not so much, because again, like, it is that simple thing, it's the networks that you know where you are. I think it's certainly when you're away from kind of what is your core base, it's something that would definitely be massively beneficial to come up here and be able to go, and fire something in and go, I'm on the hunt for this, I'm on the hunt for that, or my supplier's not, it says he can only get me this on Wednesday, that's no good for me, I need it in 10 minutes, in half an hour, it will be a massive resource to be able to kind of do that. And I think, like I said, we all come together for this one festival, I feel like there's very few of us actually know each other, like especially from the kind of slightly smaller side that's not in the huge end, certainly from my side, certainly from a company that's grown ridiculous over the last 5 years, of starting to move into that kind of bigger step, so that kind of resource thing with how things work and support is like that, I think massively beneficial, and it's certainly something that I think, again, I'll utilise more down the road as well, but I think it's certainly that, trying to make the PMF something that is much better. There's obviously the Joy's Facebook Scottish Technicians group page, which you see stuff flying in on a massively regular basis, and you just kind of look at it and you go, well, it's great, but stuff just gets lost so quickly from a production management standpoint. Actually, if you streamline it to go, this is just for that kind of production management element of things, I think that would make a huge difference. And I know I've seen things in that Facebook group going, oh, well, maybe we should all get together and start setting out some guidelines of this and that across Scotland as a whole. And you go, well, okay, but then it just disappears. And nothing seems to ever come from that. So there's obviously, like, from not just from the Fringe group of Scotland as a whole, but one for things to start to come together and have a much better network across up here. But it just, as I said, it seems to be like one Facebook group that's, I think it's 3,500 people in it, so it's stupid. So things get lost so quickly that it just gets forgotten about.
It's still a good resource for putting a shout out for things, but it's not necessarily production manager centric, is it?
Not exactly, because there's everything that's going in there from every which, what, an angle you think of, which is a great resource, but actually it can very quickly get lost. And I think if we can streamline it so it's a bit more production manager centric, or there's a version of it that is, then I think that.
There is another Facebook page that is solely production managers, but that's sort of what PMF are trying to do as well with theirs. So it's a case of just straight on it, I'm looking for this, anyone got a supplier? This is a random question, I need a 2 metre diameter mirror ball. Anyone know where to get one?
Just one out there.
Alright, okay, thanks. And somebody should be able to come back to you and go, actually, I know where a company that have got it. And that's what they're using with the other Facebook page and things like that. But having the PMF to do that, and it's solely pushed at production managers, and because you never really see anything put on their website or on their page, so we need to kind of start using that as a resource as well.
And spreading the word of PMF north of the border and creating something up here. I mean, go back to the crew drinks. I mean, I invited you to the crew drinks, but you weren't up at that. You weren't up that early. Whereas a PMF social, once it's up and running, like this weekend, would be a way of gathering the production managers who, whether you're just up with a show or whether you're up here for the duration, actually have a chance to, right, you've taken a breather, everything's up and running, it's all going well, let's go and meet like-minded people and have a gin and tonic. That's what we can use this forum for. But also, and we touched on this when we were talking earlier, using the PMF for production managers to work alongside the Federation of Scottish Theatre, the FST, who do great courses and things up here, and spreading each other's word and using each other as resources, as well as maybe creating something on the PMF website that's a stable form of information for you to access details from, rather than, as you say, being lost in a train of Facebook postings, which, not denying the Facebook platform is good, but unless you're watching it, I don't know what you find, Alex, there's one for looking for kit, but you know, you blink and you miss it. You know, and I don't know about you, but I'm not looking at it all the time. I have an inbox to have a look at first, but yeah. Whereas maybe that's not the point of the PMF website. Maybe that's a point of accessing people and local resources and knowledge, and the quick shout out, so you a bit hit and miss. But. So you touched on staffing.
I did. Yeah.
Which I know when we first spoke, you were like, staffing, let's talk about staffing.
Yeah.
This festival is getting bigger, right? So this is the one that really puts the squeeze at this time of the year, but even all year round there's only really a couple of places where people are being trained in Scotland that are coming through.
Yeah.
But before we come on to that, just going back to the Fringe now, it used to be that the Fringe started a week before EIF, and we liked that because you could share staff and resources, and as suppliers you could be in one place for the first few weeks and then nip across the other one, right? Then they aligned them. Now you can understand why they aligned them, one big city, one big festival, but it put an extra strain on not only, I mean, it was less of a strain for the people that you're employing for the festival duration, but there's a big pool of people that you need for the build, right? Your Prodi LXs, your Prodi Sounds, your Prodi AVs, your Chippies, your Site LXs, all those kind of things that suddenly are spread even thinner than they were before, right? So you're here, and then you can tell me afterwards how you found it recruiting this year, but what is it like up here getting staff?
I think it's quite difficult. I think that there's not the same amount of people who are that kind of general technician anymore, in my opinion, in my experience I should say. So people are very much more specialised, which I think there is also a great argument for, is the specialised thing. But when you're just going, okay, I need 5 people to just come in and cover light and sound video, just come and do it, thank you very much. That position doesn't seem to exist very much in Scotland anymore, or that person doesn't seem to exist much in Scotland anymore. And it is because there's cuts left, right and centre. People, wages are tighter, more needs to be done in less amount of hours. It's this classic, I need you to work stupid hours but I can't pay you stupid money. Do you know, it's a really hard balance, I think, currently. It's been going on for a little while now, a couple of years I'd say. And there's very few production managers. Very few freelance production managers.
That's certainly what I heard when I moved up here. It was like, thank God you're coming home.
Yeah.
There's no many of you around, right?
Then
I took a full-time job and elsewhere, so sorry about that.
You went back to London predominantly.
Change focus. It's funny because you say that. I can remember when there was a swathe. This is in the early to mid 90s. There was a swathe that went through all the theatres that stopped recognising the individual skill bases of theatre technicians. Right? Ian Albury famously at Sadler's Wells went, "You're all technicians." And we went, "You're all admin." No, we're marketing and we're press and we're, HR and we're programming. I'm like, well, there's a flyman and a lighting guy and a sound guy and a stage guy, but you've done it to hit a bottom line. So when the touring shows come in and they ask for 4 sparkies, 2 sound, 4 flymen, 4 stage guys, they go, well, they won't pick me up on the maths, but there's 16 people, you could have 16 techs, and you never knew what you were getting, right? Conversely to that though, the education areas like RCS and Guildhall and Central and all that have started doing focused pathways that you come out as an electrician, a designer, a production manager.
I think this is the thing.
It seems to be a bit of a clash there.
Well, that's the thing. I think the people coming out of training, being an LD, you're like, but
Yeah.
there feels like there's not that there feels like there's not that sort of progression. I remember when I studied, it was kind of like, yeah, okay, you can be a production manager in your third year, that's absolutely fine, but you know when you leave college you're going to have to start and work your way back up, don't you? Whereas an awful lot of people are starting in Scotland, coming out of college going, production manager, are you? All right, bash on then, have a lovely time.
You got a question?
Surely, like, towards the production manager anyway, you have to have done a bit of everything, right? That's kind of the point. So, yeah, when people are getting so specialised in training, that's why you end up with fewer production managers, because they don't have them.
Absolutely.
You need to do the years of just like bumming around doing sounds and lights to have an understanding, because how can you do the job if you don't know what every department has?
Absolutely, I totally agree.
Yeah, you need that experience to draw off to sort of, if you've got a problem, you go, I remember when that happened. We did that, and that. There we go.
Well, I'm not sure how you
Even
can...
if you don't know exactly how to fix the problem, you know enough about the problem that you know who to ask to fix it.
exactly.
Like, roughly.
I'm not sure how you can schedule or budget something either if you don't know how long it takes to do something. So if you don't know that you have to, rig before you focus, for instance, how are you going to schedule? And how are you going to budget that, and how are you going to staff that? I think that's the bit in my brain. I don't understand how you can come straight out of college, at whatever age. It's not even about being young or old. You can't come straight out of college, in my opinion, and be able to be a production manager, or not a good one.
This is something I've heard a lot over, and I'm sure we've all heard this a lot over many, many years, and there does seem to be a bit of a clash as to how people are going through, and how they've gone through college and been delivered out there as to what's actually needed to do it, coupled with the reduction in funding. Queen Margaret stopped right up here, so there was one resource of technicians and production-minded people stopped in its tracks. You've now got the RCS, which are very specialised, and there's George's School at Blacklight, the School of Lighting and Sound, Edinburgh, and there's not too many other places.
I mean, there's some FE colleges, but so there's Fife College. There's what's the one out
at Perth? You can do sound and lighting just, but more sound orientated. So it's become less and less, right? As well as the fact that the end wage at the end of the day is pretty poor, right? Whether you're full-time or freelance, you need to be in a nationally funded organisation to get paid anything near your work. It would seem, whether you're good or bad at it.
You think we can ask a question?
Oh no, I was only going to say that we were talking about coming out of formal training. I obviously don't know about this, but I didn't actually go through formal training. My degree is actually English literature, minoring in drama. So when I graduated, I came out with only the bare essentials of knowledge. And from that, I feel for me to be a good PM is that you have to have the will to push to learn those aspects. I'm still learning in this role. I mean, we all are never going to turn up to work and see the same day twice. But I do think there's something to be said in terms of staffing for those who share that common goal of going, okay, I don't know the answer to this, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to pick that up.
Or ask people.
Exactly.
Where do I ask? Who do I ask, and where do I find them?
That brings us really nicely and neatly back to PMF, in that could be a way of looking at that as well, where if you find that on your staffing, you're seeing you've got multiple levels of knowledge, multiple levels of experience, that there could be somewhere in terms of even workshops and socials where those communications can be met, and those conversations can be had across the board. Because as PMs, as you very rightly say, we have to have not a little bit or a lot of knowledge or enough knowledge of different things to be able to answer the questions that are being asked of us. And for me, that's the reason why I love my job, is that you might not know everything. That's the point.
I think it's also important to remember, though, that you can ask. And I think sometimes, you touched on this earlier, really, about the whole, you feel like you're just on your own in your office at your computer going, I'm not sure if this is right, but I'm just going to bash on with it. And actually, it is that feeling of knowing that you can ask, and nobody's going to go, you don't know what you're doing, do you? It's not that sort of taking away that
Your experience should teach you what questions you need to ask, and then things like PMF should give you the resources of who you need to ask.
And I think it can be quite, as somebody who's thinking of PMF, it can be sometimes a little daunting, because obviously you want to be inclusive, you want to be able to go, of course you can ask those questions, but I think sometimes it's a little daunting to ask those questions, because sometimes you sort of like ask a silly question and get a silly answer. And really that's not what it is at all. Any question is...
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's about feeling comfortable about asking any question and not feeling like you're necessarily going to be judged for not knowing something. Which,
I have to say, the older you get, I've gone from being the person asking the questions to being the person the questions have been asked of. It's a really nice transition. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not saying I've stopped asking questions, because I just changed careers. I'm definitely asking a lot of questions,
I know the feeling.
But there is a progression there. But perhaps the PMF, north, south, east or west, can be used as a collective to then have those discussions with the funding bodies, with the schools, with the colleges, even if it's just to go, right, look, we are the PMF, should we come and speak to your students in RCS or whatever, George's or whatever, to help feedback into the next generation.
Well, there's also the slightly tricky thing about people who feel that it's not sustainable to be production manager, which is a whole other level of conversation, I think. Because
maybe we come into budgets for that one.
yeah, I think so.
But overall, you feel that there's. So, you said you really feel there's a definite lack of staff in Scotland as a pool to pull from year round.
Yeah.
Have you felt it this year trying to recruit? I know, but my first year I tried to recruit locally. I got there a little bit. I was proud of actually employing some people from Edinburgh instead of Australia.
Yeah.
But actually, it's the amount of people we need is difficult, right?
It's very much sort of, we put out adverts, and I think all in all we ended up with 300 applications for technicians and things like that. And probably 75% of those weren't Scottish. They were from all over the world. Trying to find Scottish technicians is very hard. Scottish experienced technicians are, because they're the ones that I feel have been doing the job for a while, have moved off somewhere else, and they've gone to London, they've gone to other areas of the country. So we have a certain amount of people that come back every year, but you've got the ones that you used to rely on, but they've moved to London. They've moved to go and do the bigger jobs than the other things that are going on. So trying to find technicians that I don't have to put in accommodation, that live here and things like that, is virtually impossible. Well, I think we've probably got, out of 90 technicians, 20 of them are Scottish. Yeah.
You haven't got any Scottish technicians at all?
No, we have none at all. All of ours are outside of Scotland. In fact, I have 3 of mine are actually American.
I think it's something for the festival as a whole. I think there's, I don't know, I know there's a lot of Scottish technicians who will avoid it. They're like, I'm not going to work it because of it's X, Y, Z, it's this rate of pay, it's that, it's this, it's that. I don't feel like they can value it, which there's obviously a whole other argument to that. But I have one technician who's come to work for me who is Scottish. And
are they Edinburgh based or are they
Glasgow?
Right.
And they, we have an accommodation deal and stuff like that, and they've got a few other bits on, but they're from Edinburgh based. I think I only had, out of the 78 people I'd applied for my roles, I think about 5 or 6 who were Scottish, and a few of them, one of them said yeah. I was like you said, if I haven't got to put them in digs, then it's a massive advantage.
But I guess this is like, how do you make the Fringe attractive for a Scottish technician when there isn't the novelty of coming up and spending a month in Edinburgh if they live here. All you're asking them to do is work for a month far harder than they probably would be if they were just like they freelance the rest of the year, and for probably less money than the beginning of the rest of the year. So ultimately, it's not like there's no novelty attached, and it's longer hours and worse pay. So like actually, it probably isn't that attractive prospect.
Yeah.
We're touching on an area here that we could probably talk a lot about, and accommodation's a massive factor, been made
absolutely
more challenging this year.
Oh, it's crazy.
And the offering attractive enough is a big thing. But Phil, you're a local employer of local technicians. How do you find it?
It's a problem all year round.
Yeah.
And August is just a local. In fact, July and August is a local. Most of July is taken up with the stuff from the build. I do think, everything you've set up there and everything you guys have said is absolutely true. I think educational facilities around the UK as a whole have a lot to answer for. I think funneling people down. I understand they
And this can come from just schools doing drama and arts and introducing people, let alone the fundamentally focused technical data techniques.
Indeed, I think education right back from schools is like the arts. You've seen it's the first thing to get cut, constantly, all the time. It's the first thing to get cut. And there is a career in the entertainment industry. I wouldn't recommend it personally to anybody, but there's a career there.
Although it can depend on which field you go into. I mean, TV can be very well paid, the big rock and roll stuff very well paid, and people make great livings touring the world, putting shows in and out of places on great rates. But there's probably a bigger amount of people who are born on that, right?
Yeah, I get at least 10, 15 emails a month from people who've just graduated courses or university courses or specific training courses, saying I'm now an expert in X, Y, Z. I charge 350 quid day rate for my combination travel and PDs. And you're just thinking, it's laughable. I don't even reply to them anymore. We work in an industry that has tradecraft. You can only learn your tradecraft by time spent. It's like an apprenticeship, it's like anything. If you're not willing to put groundwork in to learn everything about it, you're not going to be, I don't think there's a progression there for you. If you're coming out focusing purely on being an MA programmer, then that is a route. There's nothing wrong with doing that, and you will probably earn a very good living from it. There's no point in having someone sat behind an MA desk when nobody's ringing the lights or cabling up and making sure it's safe for powered or rigged, etc. So the industry as a whole needs something coming up from the bottom, because, like you say, you've got a couple of returners coming every year, but as soon as anyone's any good at anything, they get snapped up like that. They offer the good work, the higher paid jobs, the tours, and you're going to take it because you put the groundwork in.
There can be a certain amount of pride taken with organisations and opportunities like the Fringe, that you've nurtured those people to be good enough to go off and get the big bucks. That's something we should be proud of as production managers in an organisation. However, the groundswell of those technicians coming to us that are any good and with the understanding of, okay, if you're coming fresh out of school on an apprenticeship, you can be on one rate. If you're being trained to a degree, you've done 2-3 years, you can expect a better rate. But it's not necessarily the rate they're expecting when they first come out, and that is what things like the PMF are for, to expand that discussion and spread that word back down the chain a bit. But so and you're now you managing director of a company that needs these technicians to execute your events all year round, don't you?
Absolutely, and I do encourage people to go and work the Fringe, work the festival. And I use the term young, not age, but in terms of experience. What is the best training ground in the world? I started in a 50-seat venue, and spent years doing work in sweat boxes, 15, 16 hours a day, getting drunk for the other 8, and then hopefully...
Which isn't the model we like to promote.
I've only got a few of them.
Training, and that kind of training, yes, I think people should get paid properly for doing their work. I think that is a very important thing to do. I'm an active, living wage employer, and the way people get treated at work. I was very lucky when I was coming up. My production managers that trained me were old school, looked after their crew so well, didn't take advantage, but they trained, but it was hard work. And if you
Worked hard, played hard, we got treated with respect.
Yes, exactly. And they took you under their wing, and they showed you everything, and it was the best training in the world. And I think, as you've said already, budgets getting cut, funding's getting cut, production managers are now under so much more pressure. They don't have necessarily the time to do that anymore. They're up in 150 shows later, when you're looking at a big venue. You barely get face-to-face time with your team. One-on-one, it just doesn't happen anymore. And I think, organisations like this, or like these forums, to say, do you know what, let's gather all these people that are in place, put 20 production managers in a room of 150 technicians, just mingle around the place, and go, what's your biggest, and just ask those questions and just...
But again, I'm immediately thinking you can use this as a resource, because the pressure a production manager put on to deliver under ever increasingly tight budgets or restrictions, it's hard to say no. It's hard to go, no, we can't do this, or no, this is absolutely what it needs. No, you can do it cheaper. Knowing that people are sharing exactly the same experiences, it is okay to say no. You're not, or just to even have a resource to go and ask someone, says, I want to say no, I really, feel, or am I just being daft? Could this be done with less, or am I right? Can I stand my ground here? Having other like-minded people to talk to, that's what the PMF gives you an opportunity to do, that is wider than your inner circle, like your immediate circle, right? Which is, and then if enough people are voicing those concerns and voicing those pressures, you can then collect the information and use that as a launching board to readdress the balance, and use things like the PMF to have those discussions with producers, with the budgetary people, with the budget setters, to actually be able to deliver what the desired outcome is, right? But it's challenging to find staff. Is what we got to.
Very much so. You just finding the people that can Gentech, as Fee was saying before, isn't easy. They are always biased one way or the other, and they all class themselves as Gentechs because maybe I'm a lighting guy, but I've operated a desk once, but I'm a general tech. Well, you're not really, you elect. So then you try and bring them into a Gentech role with a sound bias, and all they focus on is the sound side of it. And we try and bring them away from that and try and train them. We do sort of lighting training with Hawthorns, with ETC, 088, all that sort of stuff, and to try and give them as much experience as we can and as much training as we can. And we do the same with AV, we do the same with sound, all that kind of stuff, and then they go off and they go, actually, I quite enjoy doing that bit, and they develop themselves.
Now, without getting into who does it better, there's a lot of people who do that. I know the Pleasants have a really, very well thought out and well established training program that they, promote heavily. Again, they announced another one this year with Orbital Sound that they're doing. So the Fringe is a great opportunity to do that. It should never be seen as an alternative to paying people properly.
No.
And it's a bit of both. It's getting that remuneration balance against skill upgrade, right? That forums such as production managers can help keep that balance correct, as well as understanding the requirements of producers and their funding basis. How they're actually funded may rely on an element of training and may rely on an element of volunteer opportunities to those outside the industry against what's safe and needed to achieve the levels that are also expected with those organisations. So production manager is a key person in that role to manage that balance, right, and to advise up and down as to the best way to achieve that, right? So having a collective knowledge to share those ideas on how people can do things. I'm sure you could tell me ways that I could have done things, and I'm sure I could offer similar experiences that might go, set a light bulb off in your head, you know, that's what this should be about. Yeah?
Yeah.
Question. You were saying before about training, particularly to total technicians.
Yeah.
How, in your opinion, how is it ever possible, or do you find that it's possible to continue that training throughout the Fringe, or does there come a point where, being as busy as we are, it's just not possible?
What we did last year was, once we got up and running, we then ran other training sessions with our house, like HODs or deputies. So last year our assistant sound did 2 or 3 days of different courses, so people who were on shift could get across and learn more about different things that they didn't really necessarily pick up on fully during the first part of the training, and then just start looking at different ways of doing things. So once they'd started operating in venues, they're finding issues and not aware of how to get out of those problems. So we then started running the training as well, and they could start asking correct questions and using us as a resource to learn more about what they don't know.
Running like a drop-in clinic, as it were, where if you were finding that you're struggling with a particular area, that's what you bring to...
Yeah, our HODs and the rest of the departments, we use them as a resource to go out and train people in venue as well.
Yeah.
So they'll go and spend sort of a morning with different venues and things like that to get them as far as they can do before shows start coming in and everything else. So we're very open of, if you're not too sure about it, we'll happily come and show you at any point. When the door's always open, just come in, ask the questions.
And that continues through the length of the Fringe,
Yeah.
does it? Yeah.
That's very much an NSDF model, the National Student Drama Festival. It's been going on for 60 plus years.
Yeah.
Incredible organisation, and they run workshops every single day, and they're mad busy. It's like a mini Fringe. But they do also put together workshops to allow those students, they're not all kids, but the students to come and learn a bit more and ask questions and get inside the head of LX when he's putting all this together and stuff like that. So I mean, Assembly are very lucky you've got the resources of space to be able to have something like that set up, so completely applaud you for having that. That's a brilliant thing. Certainly something that could be looked at.
And even from my point of view, is you get to a point where your venue's up and ready, but it's not opening for a couple of days. And I encourage my guys, go sit in, go just mess around.
Play with the desk.
Yeah, play.
Where you do that.
If you're stuck, radio me, someone will come and help.
Exactly. At that point of view, or if it's as simple as my guys know that pick up the phone, ring me at any point, if I can talk to them over the phone, we do over the phone, or if it's you want me in a technical rehearsal, yeah, fine, I'll just sit in the corner and if you want me to jump in and help. It's that kind of level of thing, but we openly say to our guys that if there's something you don't understand at any point in this whole build process, whatever, ask, and we'll make sure our build time, our schedule isn't that tight. I haven't got a job that I could do 5 minutes on there. Yeah, I'll take 15 and show you that plugs in like that. To make sure that because then they want to come back and work for you again, because it makes your life a lot easier if you've got lots of returns to come back, because they understand what.
And they'll be supported.
Yeah, they're supported. So it's kind of making sure that they get as much as they can out of it. Yes, okay, money's great for them, but you would get a problem when it tends to run in a couple of year cycles that I lose people because their skill sets at a point can go and someone snapped them up on them for or whatever, but you can take that pride in knowing that the better technician for coming up to work for you and what you come up and when they started.
So here's the thing, right? Certainly I know some places don't have the luxury of having gaps in the schedule to be able to do that. So those who do, they can do that, fantastic. Those who don't, having a resourced festival long, so once you drop into shifts and you maybe have a morning off or an afternoon off, whether something like what Assembly are doing could be opened up to a wider Fringe-wide, or whether we set up a hub, or we can be having a hub that can be accessible by everyone on one of the sites, and you introducing manufacturers and suppliers to come up, and you have opportunities to go and see the kit, play with the kit, talk to the experts. But that's coming to the Fringe, so that's another resource that you can tap into whilst you're experiencing.
I guess that's the
the whole
thing.
here.
So FST with their winter
Slightly off
school.
production manager's topic, but production managers can orchestrate that kind of thing.
Yeah. So but that's something else at FST, because they have their winter school, which is in February up in Lochray. or various places, but mostly Killarney. That's the sort. They have spoken about doing a sort of summer school type thing.
Yep.
Maybe that's another kind of way to, you know, there's a week worth of come and learn this, whatever new fancy lighting desk.
So I mean, that's the kind of thing production managers can promote and stuff without just going off topic and working out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, just going back quickly, I'm very lucky with the fact that most of my technical department came up through the Fringe. So they started as that technician that didn't know what was happening, didn't know how to operate something, and people have spent time with them doing that, so they want to give back into it. So all of my production managers for each site, they try and find a space for people to just try and do that. And a bit of time, you do have to put a bit of time into it yourselves, because you are on shift, so you have to go and do the training when it's off your shift. But we put that resource in place for people to just come in, and it's great. And our guys love doing it, so because it's giving back, and they know what they did in the first instance and how scared they were to ask the questions. So they're just putting themselves out there to help them out.
So I had a couple of other things here, which was budgets, which you've touched on, and council and the University of Edinburgh, the venue providers. Anyone want to talk about how to do that? Good things, bad things? What could be done better? What's a concern? Who's better than others?
I don't deal with the university, I certainly deal with the council. I think just simple things. So every year, obviously, you get your inspection for your licences and all of this. And obviously, there was change last year that the council aren't sending electricians around, that you have to deal with that yourself. Fine, not an issue for me. I'm surprised doing that. But the council inspection every year, there's always something different that they pick up on every year that wasn't an issue last year, but has suddenly become an issue. And I go, well, why is it suddenly a problem? I've had this venue for 5 years, and now it's an issue. Or they pick up on issues that are not part of me, so they're part of my landlord's problem. Doors opening the wrong way, or this and that. And I'm like, okay, they make a big deal of it whilst we're there. And then I come back the next year, and then they'll follow that up, and it's still the same.
Ring any bells?
You kicked off about this last year, and you were still moaning about it this year, but so clearly you've then not followed it up with my landlord the rest of the year. So I think that's kind of my main frustration, is that there's always something, and I just kind of go, but I've not done anything different this year to how it was last year. And you always still find something, and Section 89 just makes me happy.
Yeah.
I just dropped one of my seating banks to under 600, and now suddenly I don't have to have a license yet, and my point loads are all still identical. I got asked for a structural report for the first time in 6 years for a venue that's upstairs, and they told me 2 days before they were coming that they wanted a structural report. I was like, well, I'm literally building the venue today, so it's not going to get done. And so I rang my supplier up, look, you can drop my scaff legs. So the scaff legs didn't go to 600, so suddenly I don't need a Section 89 yet. My point loads will still be absolutely identical. So and the guy comes, inspects it, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, no problem. I'm like, suddenly that. So it's kind of this massive kind of thing of where things are at, and just.
I think the Section 89 thing we could go on for days.
Right, we won't. But it just seems that the goalpost seems to change every year, and you never quite know where that's going to be. So you're getting yourself ready for inspections, and I quite like the fact that it's not a council sparking who comes to do my inspection anymore, because my supplier also happens to do my electrical inspection. Great, fine. So I can work with him all the way through the build, making sure that he knows all the information, everything like that, and he knows everything that's coming to me is tested way in advance. And my electrical inspection's gone from like 6 hours to about 2, because he knows that everything's tested in his warehouse and it comes out, which is great. But you look at the other side of it, and it's like, well, the council inspection, you pick something up different every year. And I'm like, well, it was that, it just constantly keeps changing.
There's a lot of sides to these arguments. I mean, knowing Tom Reynolds personally, right?
Tom's great.
He is great, isn't he? I mean, and he was always very helpful, and he was thorough. His chagrin about the whole thing, because it was a cost-cutting exercise by the council, is that he felt that the council had a duty of care, not only to its customers, right, but also to its patrons, the good boroughs of Edinburgh who are going to be the good burghers of Edinburgh who are going to be coming and visiting, as well as the international audience, and he felt that. Both should be in place. You should be responsible for your own sign-off, that he can then come and test in case of a catastrophic And I always found him very approachable in terms of, you know, you can have a reasonable discussion with you, and he might point out some things. And yeah, I was in plenty of council buildings, and he was going, "This shouldn't be like this," and it's a council thing, and you're like going, "Back over to you." But again, it's not him, because he was public safety and not buildings, and there's a whole game, you know, in both Edinburgh, City Council and University. And that. So here's the thing, we brought up in the production managers forum with a bunch of production managers. We've all got the same story, right?
Yeah.
You know, but if you're isolated, you don't know if everyone's doing through the same thing, or whether they're just picking on you, or whether you've done something wrong and all that kind of stuff. So there you go. We've all done the same thing. It is changing. And you say about your electrical installation going from 6 hours to 2. Well, we've, as SLX, supply several venues. Some, you know, they're all now getting their own electricians, but they're not necessarily doing it to BS 7909, I think that's the code, isn't it? Right? They're now doing that. One of my venues, they were there all day because they were doing it as a full installation inspection, which clearly, you know, things were not passing.
Yeah.
Because they hadn't understood it. Really, they just need to go from supply to first point. It's B7909 and understand the nature of the kit, and the temporary installation, and the kind of kit you use in a temporary installation, because their readings were not making any sense to them, but it was because it had things like the actual dimmers and stuff on the end of it, right? But whereas Tom would have been in for an hour, 2 hours, thrown the main switch, checked if the emergency lights were on and all the right trips went off in the right order, they were getting like end to end, each cable getting tested.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of confusion on the direction on that front that perhaps as production managers, something could be put together. If there was a fringe section of the PMF to go, headline items, think like this, don't need to do that, point them to the B7909 so you're clear on your instruction to said electrical contractors as to what they're testing for when they come in. Because it's not always the PMs that book them, right? I think it's the admin lady in the office who'd book, because they used the contractor the previous week sorting out one of their year-round premises. That, you know, so it's that kind of information which would be great to have equally shared. I mean, overall, who has council venues and who has Edinburgh University and who has a mix?
Neither
both.
this year for me.
You have both.
Council.
You're all council owned.
Council and 2 private churches.
Right. And the uni can do their own world again, can't they?
Yep.
You can have our structural engineer, university structural engineer, and an independent structural engineer,
Oh,
all
Church
with
of
different
Scotland
calculations
as well.
on exactly the same problem.
Yeah. Uni, council, Church of Scotland.
Yeah, Church of Scotland, 150 kilos a point because there might be snow.
Yeah.
Well, there might be snow in July and August.
You never know.
Might be. There's a risk assessment to be done there.
Yeah. It's very much sort of being spread across so many different types and different regulations within the buildings, with the council, with the uni, and parameters that we have to work in. It's just a minefield a lot of the time for us. So the university will be like, we want this, then the council will want something completely different, then we'll have the public safety come round and they'll be like, well, what's wrong with this? It's like, well that's the uni. That's all theirs, as you were saying before. It's kind of, it's your landlord's problem. But at the same time, it's like, well, you're operating a venue in this, so it's now your problem. But then you go to Church of Scotland and they pretty much leave you to it. There's nobody that comes around. We just operate it and nobody comes and checks on it.
Just set keys and that's it.
Yeah. There's the fire alarm. Have fun. Don't call us.
There's fire alarms and alarm codes still.
Fundamentally, though, having a discussion between production managers of the Fringe and Festival and those beyond sharing the same similar kind of stories, you've got a resource there, right, to be able to go,
Yeah,
right, I
absolutely.
can calm down a bit there. Who should I phone if that happens? Because
Yeah.
they're not helping me.
Yeah,
That's what
absolutely.
this is useful for, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And then I use other people's resources as well, sort of people that have been new to my position. I'm pulling stuff from previous technical directors, other people that are working within the unis, within the council venues. I'm like, how do I make this work, and what's the roundabout way of doing it? And to make them happy. Luckily, I know Claire Miller at the council, and all the fire inspectors that come around we already know. So they're kind of like, oh, we've seen that venue before, we know what happens in there. But obviously, because it changes from year to year, it's that fire exit's been put in the wrong place, or that emergency lighting isn't what we need this year. You need to change it.
So yes, certainly my tack was as soon as I had any drawings kind of down, I'd send, it was Malcolm back in my day,
Yeah.
I'd send them up to Malcolm and go, can you see any problems? Like before we build it and before you get on site.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm up doing a site visit, should we go and have a coffee and chat about it, do you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, everything was done and dusted, because he walked around and he, you know, say what's...
Malcolm used to be something a little bit kind of special in the sense that you could be much easily approachable, and that even before we built one of my venues, we went and walked around with him before and talked through.
And to be honest, John McNeil would do that as well, as would Claire. There are others that might be a bit more of a struggle, but actually on the whole, they're all pretty damn good people.
Yeah.
You know, and if you've got a regular one, they're a great person. You know,
Yeah, we have as well. We have the same person.
That's what this one's the fire inspector this year is performing one of my stages, so I just said to him at the start,
Laurie?
if you don't sign it off, then
Yeah, Laurie's the only man that I know that does a fire inspection and just needs to get on every stage, so he can look out and just see what he could be in. Yeah. He's brilliant.
He sounds like a hoot.
they do change though quite regularly, and I think like in the 5 years I was TD December, they had 3 different fire officers in 5 years.
Yeah.
But now they've just moved up the chain, so Willie's doing something completely different now.
Yeah.
But no, Laurie's hilarious.
his step ball changed everyone on the stages, so he could play through the first person to perform every single one of the stages. That's what his thing was.
Yeah, we were doing a quick inspection of one of my venues. It was due to start the show 4 minutes later, and he was about to go on stage. I was like, dude, you go up there, they're just going to applaud. He was like, I don't know, I don't mind, I'll give him a number. No, Laurie, get off.
Sing him a song.
Yeah. It's just creating a good relationship with them, and if they know that you're going to react to everything that they put in, they just won't come back. It's great. So.
Is there anything else we want to talk about while we're all gathered here
Is
today?
there anything you guys want to talk about?
I think the big thing for us is just having that network of staff kind of to make sure that it is across everyone. That okay, things change and people change and stuff like that, but I'm very well. I said it's a shame that there aren't more here today, and hopefully that's mainly because they are busy and things aren't running as smoothly. That it's not that they're not interested kind of thing. So it's like having that network. I said we're all in Edinburgh for the Panelists is the reason. So in August, like why should we all go through each other and have that network and a forum that we can just go, this is what it is, or whether it is just that I just haven't counted this spectrum, there's shit lot on this year. Kind of thing.
Right. So if the PMF have a Scottish hub and we have a social early in the Fringe organisation, it's you know, so whether that's part of the crew drinks or a week later when you've come up. You know, but I mean, we don't talk about that in the crew drinks. It happens at the time it happens because it's mainly the big lot and they're up earlier and they've all got busy. It should get pushed back or do a couple.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think currently it's a good time because it's before it gets really crazy.
Yeah.
And is it not the first day that the
First day
garden's
of
open
jazz.
currently for the jazz
Yeah.
festival?
That's what it's become.
Yeah.
Because Assembly
Yeah.
then started hosting it to
Yeah,
get
exactly.
a slightly better deal on the beer. That's effectively why that happened. And we had a gardens that we wanted people to be in.
Yeah.
So in
Yeah,
2011 it shifted.
Yeah.
But it could be anywhere. And maybe if that still works for the Fringe crew drinks, and you're not taking it over, there could be another one for the
Yeah.
PMF drinks for production managers early doors to have a little swally.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping us doing a couple, really.
Yeah.
There's sort of one at the beginning, one midway. How you're getting on? How can we help?
Just to touch base throughout the break, like you say, just to kind of touch base and go, how are you guys doing? How was your inspections? How was your build? Did you come across any problems?
Yeah.
Just to have, rather than there sort of being like one at the end, one at the beginning, one at the end, to have a couple of socials throughout the time, particularly in the Fringe period where, we are all busy, we've got tons of things to do, but to have a little touching kind of period where we go, oh, I've got that question I need to ask, when I come and see you guys on social.
Yeah.
You know, I think it should be useful.
So there could certainly be a Fringe festival section of PMF to draw on Fringe or festival-specific type of scenarios and questions, right?
You get some nice people just with the shows out, so that aren't anywhere near, might be in their cruise or whatever, down south or wherever in Dartford.
Yeah.
But then thinking about the Edinburgh at that point.
So having a pool of Edinburgh Festival knowledge, that could be any of the festivals, because I keep correcting myself to stop saying festivals, because you do festivals, Imaginate and the Science Festival, there's all sorts of festivals happening up here.
All through the year.
Or festivals in general, no matter where you are, because you can kind of learn lessons from the biggest art festival in the world and apply it to the festival in Cambridge or Luton or wherever you are.
I'm not product managing for a venue or anything. I'm a freelance production manager in London, but everyone comes to Edinburgh at the start of the festival. So if there's a proper social that people like me can come to and actually meet people, because I'm hoping to now go to some of the PMF stuff in London, but schedules in London are so difficult. Whereas up here, everyone's kind of on the same, everyone's busy, they're all kind of at the same time. You can make the social because everyone's so condensed.
Yeah.
So it's I've met more London-based lighting designers in the last week than I've met in the last 3 years. So it's it's a good place to meet people from wherever.
It was very much as soon as I put it to David Evans that he was like, great, we've been wanting to try and get into the Fringe to do something at the PMF, do a PMF forum, social, whatever it may be at the Fringe since we started. So that gave him that inroad to start doing it. And it is all about networking and resource. I tell all of the guys that work for us, talk to your producers. The amount of people that get work out of this festival is absolutely crazy. Off you go on tours, off you go and work for that one producer for the next 3 years, but he's coming back to the Fringe every year, so you've got that time off as well. So it works in both ways. So it's a good networking thing because everybody's here.
Yeah.
And then outside of Fringe, just having a Scottish voice within its organisation and an opening for the...
Well, I think it's also, outside the Fringe, I think it's also a good thing just to bring this Scottish-based production managers together and have some sort of...
Find some Scottish-based production managers.
Well,
it's a good thing.
Yeah. Get some new
Phil, you're here all year round, is that something...
I think, forums like this, Scotland's in desperate need of them, I remember for years trying to fight Plaza to get something up in Scotland, and then they didn't listen to any of the suggestions. The most expensive, trade place in Scotland, and then none of the suppliers wanted to pay the money for it, so it fell away again. It's not what we wanted up here. A small networking opportunity where all the major manufacturers are coming up.
Kind of mad there isn't like a mini trade show in the Fringe.
There used to be, but
They did,
stopped this year.
Yeah.
They didn't do a Plaza Scotland this year at all.
They're saying it's going to come back next year, but you've highlighted that they need to think carefully about where they're doing it.
But they're doing it at the SCCC.
Yeah, they don't need to do it at the SCCC.
No, they really don't.
They take up a quarter of the room they use.
the size of that stage costs a supplier £5.
Yeah.
Plus everything else on top of it, it's not what we're looking for.
Yeah.
And I think organisations like this, or forums like this, it's important to get a Scottish voice there, because there's a lot happens here, but there's not a lot of resources stayed here. So I think, us who do live here, it's our responsibility really to put the effort in and the groundwork in to keep things like this going, etc. I haven't been a production manager for years, but I turned up today because I really want to support something like this, because project management in events, production management is the same thing, just a different title. I need to hire more production managers for events, and I want the industry in Scotland to thrive. Training. Getting as many people into the industry as we can, train properly with the right attitude is key to the success of all of it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
the main reason that I started the conversation with the PMF to start it here. Was to try and get that voice in the area. Because for me, moving here, not really knowing anybody, just coming from a theatre background, I know the big theatres, the Playhouse, and etc., and the people that are in that. But as Fee was saying before, there's 12 festivals that happen throughout this year, every year in Edinburgh. I knew nobody within it. I fell into Fringe Festival and Assembly just from knowing somebody from theatre. So that was my route in. But had we had something like this, it gives other people a chance to start working more in Scotland, working more for the Fringe, and other things outside of the Fringe. So,
there's a lot of work there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work in Scotland. You know, there's a lot happening, and you know, a lot of people know about it.
Yeah.
And the network's small, actually.
Yeah.
How many people do you know on the West Coast?
How many people do I know?
Yeah, it's similar to yourself, production manager, but in the West Coast.
3 or 4 probably.
Okay.
Maybe not that many.
That's interesting, because I'm an East Coaster.
Freelancers, there's like, I could name at least probably only 1 or 2 freelance production.
It's fine, there is a bit of an East-West divide in Scotland, isn't there? Would you say?
I think that's not as much as it used to be.
Right.
I think if you want somebody to get the £25 train from Glasgow, you're struggling. Because
Yeah.
that's the other thing, is like if you want people to...
And actually, it's only an hour's commute.
Yeah.
It's no worse than crossing London, but it's...
Yeah, 25 quid.
Yeah. Mind you, the London, but it's only about 3 times the price, 3 times, you know, but anyway.
Crossing London's like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what you do to get to work most of the time.
Yeah, yeah. But sometimes the Edinburgh-Glasgow thing, people go like, oh, you want me to commute? It's only 50 minutes on the train.
It's funny, because I could probably not name you any suppliers on that side of the country.
I think the divide is a lot more company-based rather than individual-based.
Yeah, you'll be right. You'll be right.
I think also as a freelancer, I have to go west. I'd rather not, but I have to.
You can't say that.
Yeah, sorry.
They're all right. There is a, like, you know, something like this, production managers who need suppliers, who do move around,
Yeah.
could get to know the whole of the country better, right? And that's just not east and west, it can be north and south, but
Yeah.
we always talk east and west of Scotland, primarily.
It's interesting that's brought up. I've just come from a Fringe Central talk on touring shows. And one of the things they were discussing quite heavily was, you know, your touring pattern, like things that the core things you need to be able to tour in a sustainable manner. And I think maybe that's something that PMF needs to look into as well as having a Scottish voice, but having a contact base where if you are touring from, say, Manchester to Birmingham, you would have resources in those areas should you need them.
Yeah.
So I think, because when I as a year was thinking about that is something that you're able to see work in those different areas,
Yeah.
not who, like for example, who's the resident PM for one of the major theatres in Manchester. You know, what suppliers would you find in that area? It's almost like you almost want like a, I don't know, like an Instagram profile of the areas that you cover.
What we need is like a wiki that people can upload to. Because I see on like a load of the Facebook groups and stuff all the time, people are asking for like brick plans and that sort of thing for venues, and you know you've got to email the technical contact for the venue, and you know however long after to get it. Whereas there's no reason that you can set up some sort of blog when that all gets shared. So we've just got a piece of information that anyone can access and also anyone can edit and update when necessary. So you don't have to like do so much work in just trying to get information about it.
It could also help put the onus back on those venue production managers to have that information on their venue's website.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been a massive advocate of that over the years, of inheriting
Download
venues
their
where
plans,
there's no tech spec, click link. You know, I want people to be able to click on my name, email me, find out my phone number, have a very clear link to the technical specifications. Within that, there are good plans.
Up to date, bucket
as
list.
up to date as possible, but definitely with a you know, I always put a proviso that, you know, contact me if it's going to be tight. Talk to me first, right? And I put PDFs up instead of CAD plans. Everyone does their own thing, because of the state mainly of CAD plans that come back to you sometimes. But that's, you know, it's a general thing. But having that resource. But so many venues, you visit the website to get their information, and you can't even find out who the technical manager is.
Mm-hmm. It's important from a design perspective as well. So, like,
Yeah,
if you're going,
it's hugely
if you're going,
important.
if you're going on a tour, you want to, like, in the process of designing the show, if you've got like the opportunity to look at, hey, okay, so we're going to have this technical specification as an average across the tour, you can kind of design.
You need to have those readily accessible.
If you have to do all of that work contacting every single venue to get the tour as part of your design process, that's just like massively.
And part of that challenge is finding out who you contact in each of those different venues. Actually, you know, discussions like this puts the onus back on the house technical manager, production manager, to get their organisation to get that accessible on the website and get those details out there. So production managers have they have more.
Yeah. But by the same token, some sort of so it could be PMF websites, like there's some sort of like a wiki or that sort of thing, that there can be an entry for each. Could even be like an entry for each city, with a list of what the theatres are, a list of what the local suppliers are, and people can go on and they can just chuck the information there. So you don't necessarily even have to ask them, to be just like, oh, I'm touring a show to, I'm touring a show to North West London. What's there? You know?
Aberdeen, Newcastle,
So Scotland
Glasgow,
used to
Manchester.
have a directory like that was created when it was Arts Council. But nobody, it seemed that they commissioned somebody to, do you remember that? I can't remember what they called
Which
it.
one was it?
It was the directory of all the venues in Scotland.
I have a vague recollection.
And so you could go in and you could
what's
type in,
happening.
Tron or whatever, and it would give you all the details. But then it's on the, I can't remember how it worked. I couldn't remember if it was the onus of the venue to upload their new sort of updated plans, or if it was the company that set it up in the first place. But it was that thing, it was a great directory for so long until people didn't keep up.
This is why it needs to be something like a wiki that the users can access, and they'll be like, okay, I've just taken a show to this venue, I've finally got the plans through, I'm just gonna, I found this out, I'm just gonna chuck it on there.
Yeah, I have on my,
other people might want to.
yeah, on my, I have probably most venues, if not every venue in Scotland, on my laptop. But, and then there does come the time that you go, oh, I've not got that. Has anyone got that? And so I've started kind of creating that for myself, because it's not available.
There is a touring number one at the moment who's
Yeah.
actually putting it together. Andrew Blunson, he's creating a directory of every single venue across the country with their tech spec in it, with their lighting plans in it, everything else. And he's slowly but surely managed to gather all of that information as well. So very shortly that should be coming out.
I would just say that's all right for that snapshot in time, but venues change, people change. You know what I mean?
Kit
And
changes.
actually,
Easy update.
Yeah.
I mean, I think having a central access point to find out where you get the information from, but the onus should be on every venue is a website now. So therefore, you should be able to update your own website's information as a current thing. So all you need is a link to that page on their website, or a link to that position, because people change, right? But positions tend to stay pretty much in place. There's always a technical manager or a chief technician or something that you've got a central place where you can go and find that information out. But use these forums to say, take on the responsibility for your venue. Get that information out there, because that's what we need as production managers, as people who tour around and need to fit their various shows in. You can't send an email to admin and expect someone to, follow it diligently through the chain to get back to you within 24 hours when you designers at the end of the night going, have you got that plan yet?
Yeah.
So these discussions put it back in the laps of production managers to take responsibility for their information sharing. Anything else? Anything else? I don't know about you, I'm getting a bit hot. Probably do with a drink.
Definitely don't like being on stage. Decided. It's not for me.
Yeah?
No. I picked the right side of the stage, to be honest.
The pink in it's good for you then.
Yeah, pink's fine.
And blue brings out your hair.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, thank you very much for coming along. Let's go and have a drink in the tree house. Does everyone know where the tree house is in Assembly Gardens? thank you for visiting us online. You're still there, Kelman. And yeah, any suggestions and thoughts, ping them towards the PMF. Let's try and raise a Scottish profile of the PMF and create a hub up here.
I think the plan is if you can sort of send in emails and people that are interested in it, especially the guys that are going to watch this, hopefully that are based in Scotland, they'll then forward them on to us to then get in contact to create the PMF at this end.
And share the link, share the word. That's the word of mouth is the thing.
Yes.
Indeed. Great.
Very
Thank
good.
you guys
Thanks
for
very
coming.
Thank you very much.
That's-
Well done.
We did it.